also indicative of like how we're talking about just the culture in general. It's cool to like Marvel. It's not cool to like DC. So DC really needs that facelift. DC really needs that nose job, boob job, everything. They need to get people on board.
They need that BBL, bro.
Yeah, it's literally BBL Drizzy, literally.
Welcome back to another What Would You Think video. It's me, Alvin.
How's it going, guys? It's me, Amir.
So today we're going to be doing another kind of discussion about San Diego Comic-Con. As we're recording this, it's the end of the con, and yesterday Marvel had the big, panel to showcase the Phase 5 movies, I think, and then they had a big announcement at the end. We'll save that kind of towards the later half of the video. But I guess we're just going to go through really quickly what they talked about. Captain America, don't really care.
Yeah, it's I think more of the same. Nothing really new. It was just Harrison Ford coming out. And it looks like he's actually having fun with this one, which is kind of cool.
Yo, you've been seeing the footage that come out of it, right? Where, I'm going to be honest, he's blazed. He is blazed, bro. He is zooted.
Yeah.
Oh my
I've heard that
gosh.
about him too.
If you look at like the one-on-one interviews he has with these reporters, eyes are red.
Oh, damn.
Eyes are red. Yeah.
I've heard that about Harrison Ford. They're like, oh, his ideal life is just like being a farmer and just smoking weed all day. So
yeah, exactly. Which, hey, more power to him. He can probably do that already. But so yeah, that was Captain America. There's Thunderbolts. I don't really know what is going on with that movie.
Any new news from Thunderbolts or no?
No. Honestly, no. And then there was Fantastic Four. They added a subtitle, First Steps.
I wish it didn't have a subtitle.
I agree. I think the Fantastic Four is a lot cleaner than I don't know if it has the B, but I know it's Fantastic Four First Steps.
Yeah.
I think it kind of, like I was telling this to Omid, I think it kind of sounds like a PBS after-school children's special.
Oh, like a documentary kind of thing, like a special, yeah.
Yeah, and then there was like some leaked test footage, or like, it's not a trailer because I know they didn't start filming.
Yeah, so that's what was surprising to me, because I heard they hadn't filmed yet. Like, they're filming this coming week. But I'm like, so I guess that was all promo material purposely shot for this, like, or maybe it was like on screen, kind of like a test screen kind of thing. Like
to
camera
me,
test.
I'll kind of equate this to I don't know if you remember, like maybe like 10 years ago when Edgar Wright was still directing Ant-Man. He came out to Comic-Con with like test footage of his version of Ant-Man, and it was like a fight scene in a corridor. That didn't really end up being used in the final movie.
Was it shot?
It was shot, yeah. Shot, visual effects done, everything. It was just like a short sequence. So I'm kind of equating it to that, where they kind of filmed it just like as test footage. But honestly, I don't really know. But I did see the footage. You saw the footage. I thought it looked pretty promising.
I thought so too.
Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards is actually quite charming, if I'm being honest.
So
I think he makes it work.
I'll let you say your things, and cause I have some thoughts too. So yeah, you like Pedro. Do you like how he looks?
I like how he looks. Yeah, it's just the era. I think the most exciting thing for this movie is just like, I like that it's in the 60s. I like how it's different. Yeah, what do you think?
Because I loved everything I saw, but I think the one thing I didn't necessarily like was just Pedro Pascal. Like, I'm not sold on him just yet, because I just see Pedro versus the other characters. Like, oh, I'm ready to see this version of like Sue, Johnny, and I think particularly the Thing, Ben. I think he's gonna really knock it out of the park. Like, is it Eben Moss Backrack, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, he I think has that perfect kind of like down on your luck kind of guy. So I think his thing is really gonna hit home. And we did get to see Galactus, which I thought looked really, really cool. Like, because I'm guessing he's gonna be the main villain. I don't think we're gonna see like a Doctor Doom just yet in this. So my theory, and I think we kind of talked about it, is for Galactus, I think by the end of this movie, I don't think that they're going to win. I think Galactus is going to probably end up devouring their world, their dimension, and then that forces them to jump into the MCU present-day era, which would be really, really cool. So
yes. So there are, Omi and I had a few theories about what the villain is, and this kind of ties into the huge breaking the internet news that came out of the Hall H panel that the Russo brothers are coming back to direct Avengers 5 and 6.
No longer
And
titled King Dynasty.
dude, that is crazy to me. But we'll get to it. We'll kind of get to that discourse. So Avengers 5 is called Avengers Doomsday. Avengers 6 is called Avengers Secret War, so it's staying the same. And they're coming out May 2026, May 2027, respectively. And the main villain of Avengers 5 coming out May 2026 is. Do you want to say Amir?
Yeah, it's RDJ. RDJ is back and he's playing. What is weird because the Russo brothers didn't introduce Doctor Doom. They said Victor Von Doom. So I'm guessing like you guys have been seeing online and probably having your own theories of whether or not this is going to be a variant of Tony Stark, because like everyone is saying, it is really weird that you're having like the face of like your entire franchise come back just to play another character, a completely different character, and then if it is a variant of Tony Stark, that'll I think make a little bit more sense because like they're trying to tie it back all to Tony again. But I can understand the conversation of why are we tying it back to him? This cheapens his sacrifice, and it's like you're telling me there are no other actors that can do Doctor Doom, and this variant means that it's not Victor Von Doom. So Doctor Doom fans are again feeling shafted because like, man, my favorite character never gets done well. So yeah, it's crazy.
To be 100% honest, this reeks of desperation. This reeks of going back to the well. This reeks of a cash grab. I don't want to be cynical. I don't want to be kind of down on my luck. I don't want to be a downer. But after this weekend of what transpired with Deadpool and Wolverine, Marvel Hall H, I just kind of, I don't know. It's kind of an amalgam of everything coming together at the perfect time where
So do you see
I just do
Deadpool
not.
as a sign of desperation as well? Because I was surprised because when I saw RDJ, I also thought that felt very desperate. Which I was like, that's so weird. You're coming off of a huge dub, which is Deadpool and Wolverine, even though there are issues with the script and the movie that we were talking about. But I mean, money wise, it's gonna for sure crack $1 billion. There's no way it doesn't. So I'm like, that's weird that it feels like they're flinching or like they're already like punching uphill, even though like right now they had such a big W.
To be honest, when you said Big W, I thought you were talking about RDJ with the Oscar because he just won the Oscar. He was in Oppenheimer, won Best Picture. He could have done any role and it would have been given to him, but he chose to come back to Marvel. And that's, I mean, maybe
fat paycheck, baby. Literally, he got the fat paycheck. Marvel
I saw
money.
this like comment. Yeah, I saw this comment where it was like Deadpool broke like a $400 million worldwide box office in the first weekend, and then they're like, "Oh, this money that it made in the first weekend is RDJ's paycheck."
Literally,
next to Avengers movies. Seriously.
Yeah.
Literally, right?
This guy does not need any more money.
I feel the exact same way, and it just like I really don't like it. I really don't like that he's back because it's obvious that they were gonna bring all 6 original Avengers back for at least Avengers Secret Wars, but to make, like you said, the face of the MCU, one of the most iconic Marvel comic villains, and they're probably just gonna have Doom in these 2 movies and that's it, where they're not gonna have him be like the Loki, where he can kind of, be in different movies, different kind of, he can kind of stretch out, right? You can kind of use him differently rather than the previous few Fantastic Four movies, because he's not just a Fantastic Four villain, he's a Marvel villain, right? Like different characters have interacted with him and you can have so much like play with him, but the fact that you're choosing to have him just be the villain of these 2 movies and then that's probably it, that's crazy to me.
Do you think it's going to be Victor or do you think it's going to be Tony?
The Russos introduced him as Victor Von Doom. So that's what they said.
So we're saying we'll take it at face value that they meant it as he's going to play Victor. It's not going to be an evil variant. Because that seems like the most popular theory right now is that it's a variant of Iron Man since we're still in the multiverse saga.
Yeah, I mean I can see that, but I really like. I was saying this to Omi. Like, I just really don't know like what they like. I don't know what to feel.
It is interesting because I mean, it's like I can't imagine they completely scrapped like the script of King Dynasty. So my thought would be they're gonna try to save and reuse as much of that as possible. So maybe it still ends up being a variant multiverse story. But then again, what's so weird is for this to really pay off, like Doctor Doom is like the main villain of Secret Wars, you would think they would want to set him up before you kind of just make him, like you're saying, a 2 movie, one and done villain like Thanos. Like you want to actually show him, understand what the character means, how he thinks, and then out of like slowly but surely he gets to become this ultimate big bad. So I mean,
Mhm.
also the Russo brothers coming back, it really does feel like they tried doing other movies and they weren't working, and they're like, all right, we got to go back to Daddy Marvel. We like those are our safe movies that people love. So
Yeah, this like because what could have been good is if they kept King Dynasty. Like, I really don't understand why they couldn't just recast. I don't know why Marvel feels so the fact that they have to pick and choose because they recast Thunderbolt Ross with Harrison Ford.
and
They
Rhodey
recast and Rhodey. They
and Bruce.
recast exactly Bruce Banner, but they refuse to recast T'Challa. They refuse to recast Kang. It's like I don't want
T'Challa
to
makes
like I
sense
just
to me
don't know.
still. T'Challa makes sense to me, but it's like of all characters that you would recast, like the only one that makes sense is Kang because there are millions of him.
Yeah.
But I think this is also um, like justification of showing that they truly like fucked up. They dropped the ball by making Kang the villain of Ant-Man Quantumania, and he loses in his first movie. So already your first kind of, I mean, obviously he was in Loki, but that wasn't like the villain version. The first time you see him, he lost. He lost to a C tier Avenger. It wasn't even any of the main heavy hitters. So already, I think
Mhm.
they were gonna have to fight an uphill battle of making people fear and respect him when the last time we saw him was already a bad movie. He lost to Ant-Man. So
They really fumbled it back. Jonathan Majors really fumbled bad, dude. And
that was
like,
his year. Like we kept saying like, oh man, he's in Creed, he's in Ant-Man, and he had
yeah,
that aviation movie, and he was like, man, this
yeah,
guy was
and
on top of the world.
he was in that also like that Oscar bait movie that didn't get released because they pulled it during the controversy. It was like
Yeah, that
Magazine
boxing
Dreams or
movie.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I don't even think they'll ever see the light of day. I hope to see it, to be honest, just so the other
I feel
people's
like we
work
might
can be
see it. I think
recognized.
like once he finally does like his apology tour and like people forget about it, and they're gonna make him like the new Oscar baby, like how they threw away Brendan Fraser and then he came back, and then they're like, oh, see, this is the ultimate comeback story, even though everyone's like, yeah, but you were the reason why he like lost his career. So
Yeah, and I feel like it just is so like responsive to what's going on in the MCU because like honestly you could have kept King Dynasty and have that be a like a smaller Avengers movie to lead to a multiversal threat, then lead into because it would just be like Avengers
it would
1,
dilute
then
the
Age of
brand
Ultron.
though.
I don't
If they
really
want
care, to be honest.
Avengers movies to be $1 billion movies, like, oh, we're not settling for anything less than $1 billion. They need to be like, because we talked about this before in our other videos, the idea of the casual film like moviegoer, they go to the theaters maybe like on average like 3 to 4 times a year, and if they're saying I'm allocating my budget yearly to Avengers, they're like, we got to deliver on that promise. I mean, the budget's going to be extremely high, so they're like, we don't do an Avengers movie if we don't go all out, which makes sense to me. I mean, you don't want to dilute that
Mhm.
brand, especially when we've seen with the MCU in general, they're in the business of diluting their own brand, right?
Mhm. And I just found this whole like the if it wasn't for this like announcement, I feel like it would have been disappointing, the panel. And to be honest, I think even with the announcement, it's not
It did more
disappointing, but it's
damage
just
than
like
good, honestly.
exactly. It's just
Yeah.
kind of like it just makes me question like why are you showing off movies that are coming 2 years from now? Which also, if you're trying to introduce him in 2026, you need to start that now. Like you
Yeah.
need to start that 3 years ago,
Yeah.
right? So
Or I mean, if they're shooting, that means he has to be in Fantastic Four. That means if they want him to be shown, and they're kind of setting up, because I mean, to me, it's not super crazy that they're showing movies that are 2 years off. But it's like if those are the only movies that are coming out that year, then like you're saying, they need to introduce him yesterday. Like he needs to have already been in a movie. So what that might mean is he's probably going to be in Fantastic Four. I don't know to what extent. Maybe just an end credit scene, or maybe even a small cameo. But this, like you're saying, it really feels like they said, "Fuck the King Dynasty, we're restarting." And I saw this interview with Kevin Feige, and they were talking. This was in relation to Deadpool and Wolverine. And this one interviewer was saying to Kevin, "Hey, I think it's really interesting how you guys are kind of treating Deadpool and Wolverine as almost a mid-phase reset." And then Kevin was like, "Oh wow, I've never heard someone say that, but I love the idea of that. How this is a mid-phase reset, which to me means they're like, shit, our initial plan isn't working. New plan, nostalgia bait, nostalgia, nostalgia, nostalgia." So
that sucks, dude. That
we're in the
really
nostalgia
sucks.
saga. We're no longer in the multiverse. It's the nostalgia saga.
Because like the original plan for Kang Dynasty, I was so, looking forward to that because it's the same director and writer as Shang-Chi, Destin Daniel Cretton. He
Oh
would
yeah,
have
they
cooked,
lost him.
if I'm being honest. He would have been great.
Yeah.
I know he's kind of doing other projects, but like bringing back the Russos, especially after Endgame, their repertoire, their resume after Endgame has just been dwindling and like disappointing. They're coming back. Um, I just hope the script is good, if I'm being honest. I don't know, man.
They never write it, right? They have, was it McFeely and someone else that writes it for them?
Yeah, Marcus and McFeely, and only one of them is coming back apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Damn.
I know.
I mean, this is going to be an interesting era. I saw people online talking about how, and I think this is actually very accurate. But I think, let's say like a month ago, right? We were saying how there was a lot riding on Deadpool and Wolverine and kind of needed to revive the superhero genre. I think it did momentarily. I think in a month or two, people are going to kind of start nitpicking, or not nitpicking, but like actually thinking about that movie on a critical standpoint. And I'm already seeing like my favorite YouTubers and like video essayists. They were talking about how they didn't like it. A lot of the critics that I follow, they're like they didn't like the movie. So I think long term wise, this didn't necessarily. This isn't gonna save the superhero genre. But what might save it, and people were talking about, this is James Gunn's call to action. Like if he can make Superman Legacy or Superman the new movie like an 11 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, that can be the exact kind of momentum that DC Studios needs. Because if we saw at Comic-Con, they released their new DC Studios logo, and I'm a big fan of it. I think it looks really cool. It's like back to basics. It's very, very clean, very simple. And I hope we can kind of see like DC finally getting the upper hand, because obviously I love Marvel more. I love the X-Men, but I think just in the name of like competition and just also getting some variety and diversity, I really hope that it's going to become James Gunn's era for a little bit. I hope they become the top dogs and people start really respecting and loving these DC characters, because I mean we even saw a joke in Deadpool that kind of threw a jab at DC. I'm like, that is going to be such a uphill battle for the casual audience, because they're already conditioned for so long because of Man of Steel and that whole DCEU. They're already conditioned to be believing that DC is not the cool kid. They're the loser of the two. I like the popular kid. I like Marvel. I like them, and then DC is the loner loser child. So I hope James Gunn can come out swinging and really deliver. Because I mean, they didn't show anything at Comic-Con, surprisingly, for Superman Legacy, which is kind of surprising.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's good or bad because the next Comic-Con is going to be after Superman comes out, and it's going to be after Fantastic Four comes out. So two heavy hitters from both studios. One is the debut of a new universe,
Yeah.
right? And by the time, literally a year from now, when those movies come out, it'll be another Comic-Con. So I don't know I think DC has more to show, but Marvel will probably be, the Avengers, slate. But
And
also
that's gonna be way bigger than anything DC does.
I really hope DC announces some type of Justice League thing
This
sometime
early? No
soon
way.
for
They
Comic Con.
can't do it this early. I think they need to learn from the issues and the mistakes of the DCEU. It's like you need to take your time. That was the whole reason why we got into this issue.
I think you can announce it, but you don't need to say when it's coming out. You can kind of just say like, "Hey,
That becomes a
some of the
Blade issue
characters
then. That's like Blade.
But
They announced that 5 years ago.
It's crazy that like I mean it's Blade versus Justice League, but also again, what came out in 2017. Like there's a stat that came out. Like Logan came out. Like a lot of movies have grossed more than Justice League with more obscure characters, right?
Yeah.
Which is crazy to me. But I guess like two things
But
on
you're
my
not talking
mind.
about DC movies, you're talking about Marvel movies, right?
Yeah, Marvel movies and yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much.
so
You're
but
right.
but I think that's also indicative of like how we're talking about just the culture in general. It's cool to like Marvel,
Yeah.
it's not cool to like DC. So DC
Yeah.
really needs that facelift.
And
DC
I
really
will
needs
say-
that nose job, boob job, everything. They need to get people on board.
They need that BBL, bro.
Yeah, it's literally BBL Drizzy, literally. Yeah.
But with the fact that it's named Avengers Doomsday, bro, they're trying to get in first in, first
Yeah.
out, because they're saying Avengers Doomsday. That to me is synonymous with DC, with Superman. So when James Gunn makes a sequel to, you know, the second movie or the third movie of the Superman trilogy, and Doomsday's introduced, that's gonna be
It
weird
can't be called
because like
Doomsday. I think it's gonna have to be
it
called
cannot
something
be.
else.
And the iconic story is the death of Superman, which, if you say that, that's kind of giving away the whole premise of the movie, right?
That
So
would be a
you're-
baller title, though. Actually, if people go in expecting like, "Hey, you're going into a funeral." That I would actually really respect. Like that is going to be very sad if they can make that work. Like the movie
Yeah.
you're going into, you know what's going to happen. We're going to deliver on it. We're going to make you get all the feels. So that would be actually
was
pretty
like
cool.
that was me with Logan, if I'm being honest. Like you kind of go in knowing something's gonna happen. The way it happens, you're kind of just waiting for it, and you just when it happens, you're kind of like you have catharsis, but you're also very sad.
Yeah, like, damn it, I was waiting for this, but I didn't want to. I don't want to feel this. Yeah,
Exactly. So yeah, it's like just Marvel's trying to be first in, first out. You know, they're trying to output. You know, like you said, condition the audience to kind of associate Doctor Doom and Doomsday. So then when James Gunn gets his shot at it, it's people are going to be saying like, oh, he's kind of just riding off the coattails of Marvel's, which sucks. It really
Yeah, because I
sucks.
felt that same way too of when they announced Avengers: Age of Ultron, and Apocalypse was coming out a year later too. I'm like, damn it! Now they can't call it X-Men: Age of Apocalypse. It has to be just Apocalypse. So
Yeah.
they have a history of this.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it be. And then also like the slate itself. Where is Shang-Chi 2? Where are Eternals 2? Where's the second season of Moon
I
Knight?
think that he
Where
actually
is
answered your
Armor
second
Wars?
question. He did answer your second question. I think someone
I know.
at Comic-Con
I know.
asked him, "Oh, when is Eternals 2 happening?" He's like, "Oh, it is
Yeah.
not active development. We are not worried about that movie, pretty much." So they said,
That sucks.
yeah, I agree. That does suck. That does.
Yeah.
And
That
also,
really
we did
does
get news
suck.
about Celestials, though. Did you hear about the news for Celestials?
I did that they're made of adamantium.
Yeah, that's so weird.
What?
I'm like, all right, no,
What?
don't make like Wolverine and X-Men tied to that. Like, it's its own. Like,
Yeah.
it's just vibranium. Treat it like it's vibranium. It's just a mineral that they found. You don't need to give it
Yeah.
a backstory.
Exactly. Like the fact that we're getting a backstory to adamantium in Phase 5 can kind of
It's
tell
so
you what's
stupid.
going on with the MCU, bro.
Yeah.
That tells you what's going on with Marvel and Disney. Yeah, like they chose to focus on the bigger thing rather than showing off the building blocks that can kind of lead to that. Like it's been what 3 years since we saw Shang-Chi. Where
I
is
feel like
he?
we're not getting a Shang-Chi too, honestly.
That sucks. As much as
I
my
agree.
disdain
As
for
much as you hate
Simu,
Simu Liu.
yeah, as much as I hate him, he's cool. Like I have no ill will, but like
No, you hate him.
his-
you hate him.
his real estate and his stock value has gotten down for me, but I enjoy that movie. That movie is really good. and
Sell your stock on Simu. Yeah.
Exactly, right? And like where like, they're just kind of just like not paying attention to the things that they have already invested in, and instead they're trying to win the audience back with like, hey, remember this? Remember this? Like
Yeah.
Omi was saying, they feel like member berries.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought for Marvel, they were kind of showing us that they were pretty like hesitant on kind of relying on that. Like, yeah, we did get No Way Home, but we were also getting She-Hulk, the Marvels, Captain America, Sam Wilson, like Shuri as Black Panther. It did feel like they were kind of introducing this idea of like the new face of Avengers, the new face of Marvel. But I mean, now when you kind of think back on it, like we're getting Daredevil Born Again, which is another nostalgia legacy IP. We had Deadpool and Wolverine, and especially with Secret Wars, like I'm really, really hoping we don't see Hugh Jackman come back again. Like it's like you guys, man, stop relying on that. Like you got lucky, you guys did it, and people liked it, but it's like you're just cheapening everything now. Like I really hope Toby and Hugh Jackman don't come back again, because it's like you're not developing your own universe. For the poor schmuck that replaces Hugh Jackman as Wolverine is so fucked. They are so fucked. They have no chance at all.
Yeah.
And that's sad.
That is a factual statement. Like, but I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be the first to tell you. You can quote me on this, right? You're wrong. There's no way they don't come back. You're wrong.
I think Hugh has a better chance than Toby to come back. I think Hugh. It seems like he would be more likely to come back.
I think
if Toby's still Sony, so.
But they're probably gonna make some type of deal. Like it's just like you're gonna see everything in everyone. If I'm being honest.
So you think James Marsden's gonna come back for Secret Wars?
I would hope so, for your sake and mine, just for something we were missing in a movie that came out recently.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll talk about it in another video for sure. But yeah, I just think for Secret Wars, they're pulling out all the stops. They brought back the Golden Boys. They brought back the Golden, the Russos.
Yeah, they're bringing out the big guns for sure.
Yeah, and you can clearly tell this is a redirection, but also, like we said, I think it's desperate. I think
a lot of people. I personally don't think Marvel expected this kind of reaction. Because I mean, even when I see the clips at Comic-Con, it looks like the people were really hyped of seeing him come out. But now on social media, it seems like the consensus is most people are disappointed with RDJ coming back for a variety of reasons. Like, oh, you're cheapening Endgame, you're ruining Doctor Doom, this doesn't make it Doctor Doom, you're again re-solidifying that the entire MCU revolves around this one character. So I don't think they expected this reaction. Hell no. But,
and it might have felt like stunt casting, if I'm being honest, but there's no way RDJ drops out. There's no way they recast him, because he's already committed, and it's been on such a huge scale.
Because that shows even more, I think, weakness on their end if they do this news and then they just say, yeah, actually, we're going to take a step back. I mean, they're already taking a step back, too, with not having it be King Dynasty anymore. So it's already a course correction. You can't do it again,
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I all that I've said is out there. Like, I don't really have anything else to say. The well is dry. I'm dried out. Like, I'm so done. Like, after this weekend, I'm done. Like, I'm kind of just like, and like I'm probably gonna practice what I preach, because in previous videos I've said, if something's not your cup of tea, you can just skip it and just wait for something else. I'm just gonna do that now. Like, I don't need to kind of keep up with this and like.
Yeah, I think at least with the shows, I think that helps with keeping your own sanity. Because you watch all of the MCU shows. Omen and I famously don't watch them except for like 2 or 3 of them. So I think that can help too, of still watching the stuff that matters to you. But I think that was a big issue too of why everyone was saying that MCU peaked after Endgame, is the shows made it homework. The MCU became homework. You had to study up. Like, we'll talk about this more when we go into the Deadpool video, but like, there was one thing that you said that really stuck out to me about your sister. She was asking about Deadpool and Wolverine, and she was like, "Oh, do I need to have watched the other movies?" And then you said, "Oh yeah, I watched all of them before this movie." And she's like, "Shit, I didn't study." And I'm like, "Man, that is like the ultimate like culmination or issue with the MCU, where it got to the point where now you have to study for this quiz or this test whenever you're watching a movie, which is very unfortunate."
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
yeah.
I don't really know what else there is to say on my end. If you have anything else, feel
No, I think
free
that was it.
to.
I mean, I think it would have been really interesting if, like, even next year, if we planned actually to go to Comic-Con, that would be kind of hype. If we did, like,
Yeah.
a live video there, that would be pretty cool, actually.
And you see us in Marvel's Hall H, and we're still cheering, like, "Oh, let's go!"
Yeah.
We're like hypocrites.
Yeah, we're like soups. Yeah. Just the
Oh,
ultimate
yeah.
hype man for Marvel, just popping off.
I thought you were gonna. Yeah.
Oh no,
We
I
have,
think he buys and believes everything he says about it. Unfortunately.
yeah, we have our own opinions on soups, but we'll not get into that here. We're not gonna call anyone out
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think, like you said, we got into a lot of our main thoughts on Marvel Comic Con, a little bit of DC Comic Con. There wasn't too much there, but it's going to be a really, really interesting year this coming year, because for Marvel we only had one movie this year. Next year we're getting 3, right? Is it 2 or 3? For sure, it's Captain America and Avengers.
I think it's 4 because Blade is still on the slate, but there's no way Blade.
Oh
is
no way!
coming
That's
out.
not coming out next year. No way! Not a chance in hell.
No way.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think we really did a great job, and just trying to keep up to date on more stuff. We're gonna have a Deadpool discussion video out very, very shortly. We're probably gonna shoot that with Omid in the next couple of days, and that is gonna be a very, very fun video. And I was talking to Alvin about this too, of bringing back our title defense, and I think it feels very fitting after Deadpool and Wolverine to be doing it on Fan 4 Stick. I think that the theme of Deadpool and Wolverine really will kind of make you guys also really consider rewatching it, and that's gonna be a really fun discussion. I'm ready to fight for that movie. So
yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep.
All right.
It's been me, Amir.
It's been me, Alvin.
Have a great one, guys. See you next time.
Thank you, guys.
I already did the closing. You don't talk.
All right. No.
I already did that.
This is getting cut out of the video, right?
No. I want them to know I put you on blast.